Hello once again, this is Sir Alvin and welcome to the next part of our session about photosynthesis and energy flow. Basically, the day 5 of the life science subject. Still the competency taken from the curriculum guide that they will be able to trace the energy flow from the environment to the cell. And this time, I have another new specific learning objectives extracted from the competency number 5 and 6. These are to explore the leaf and chloroplast anatomy, locate the area where light reaction takes place. Another review, how do organisms derive and use the energy from the sun? Since the students know the concept of photosynthesis, we have to ask them, how do organisms derive and use the energy from the sun? Allow them to analyze, post some facts, allow them to analyze, to break down ideas, chunk information into component parts for them to at least better determine the derivation of this energy and how that energy from the sun is being used by the organism. Right after presenting the question, you may try to post pictures or a sequence of the photosynthesis, the food making process, and that is being followed by the activity. The title of the activity I have here is suggestion, the titled Photosynthesis in Action. The objectives of this are to explore the leaf and chloroplast anatomy, locate the area where light reaction takes place, diagram the events in light reactions. Materials, of course, computer, laptops, and internet connectivity. The students will just going to visit the site. And there is a short game. They're going to click to start a new game. The main menu display will appear. Then they are going to click. This is the chronological sequence, the series of steps in doing their activity. They are going to explore by piloting the ship to the site of photosynthesis. Of course, provided in the activity are the guide questions. In what part of the internal anatomy of the leaf is the most responsible for the photosynthesis to occur? What is photosynthesis? Is this true to all living organisms? Why or why not? What are the parts of the chloroplast? Give the products of light-dependent reaction. And right after conducting the activity, allow the students to present their output. It's either in the form of group presentation. And after that, the teacher will now elaborate the content of the topic to be able to attain the objectives. In this part, the teacher's role, right after presenting the student's output, the teacher will elaborate the topic. Since the topic focuses on the photosynthesis, the process of trapping light energy and converting that energy to chemical forms that can be utilized for fuel by biological systems. Light energy causes water and carbon dioxide to synthesize carbohydrates. In other words, carbohydrates are being synthesized from water and carbon dioxide being activated by the light energy. You have here the illustration for photosynthesis at the upper part for us to compare that the opposite reaction of cellular respiration is that of photosynthesis. You have here the 6CO2 plus 6H2O, then you have the light produces C6H12O6 plus 6O2. This is already the balanced. This is actually the balanced chemical equation, but bear in mind that you have here the CO2 or carbon dioxide plus H2O, the water, then there's the light that strikes the chlorophyll, produces the C6H12O6, basically the glucose, and the byproduct is that the oxygen. That is the balanced chemical formula for photosynthesis. You have here water, you have the carbon dioxide, you have light energy, the glucose, and the oxygen. Bear in mind that we have to emphasize to the students that the compound on the left side, left portion of the arrow is called to be as the reactants, and this part is called to be as the products. When can we say the formula is balanced? If the number of molecules present in the reactants is equal to that of the products. Let's continue on the discussion of the detailed process about the photosynthesis, but this time let's have the step 1, the light dependent reaction. The ATP and NADPH both move on to the Calvin cycle. That is the very important details that we have to emphasize to the students. We have to emphasize that the major product of light dependent reactions are the ATP and NADPH, which are essential for the Calvin cycle to function well, the Calvin cycle or the dark reaction. These reactions take place within and across the membrane of the thylakoids and undergo a series of reactions. This is actually what happens during light-dependent reaction, the photolysis, wherein light strikes the chlorophyll photosystem II, and this causes electrons to become excited, gain energy, and these excited electrons then leave photosystem II and begin to travel down the transport chain. As you can see, a series of reaction takes place there is the production of NADPH that is yung kulay blue, and you have here the ATP, the production of the ATP in green color that is being synthesized coming from the water and carbon dioxide. In light-dependent reaction, photolysis step 1, the light strikes chlorophyll in photosystem II, and this causes electrons to become excited, or meaning to say the gain of energy, and these excited electrons then leave photosystem II and begin to travel down the carrier protein. For step 2, as you can see, you have here the water, wherein the water is split to replace electrons lost by photosystem II, and this also produces hydrogen ions and oxygen. You have here the production of hydrogen ions and oxygen. The excited electrons continue their journey down the electron transport chain. Here you have here the continuation of the journey to the electron transport chain. As the electrons travel down the chain, their energy is used to pump up hydrogen ions, which are the protons, across the membrane into the photosystem I. You have here, this is it. This result in a high concentration of hydrogen ions in the thylakoid space and a lower concentration in the stroma. You have here the concentration of hydrogen ion is too much, and the concentration of hydrogen ion in the stroma is very low. The only place in the membranes that lets hydrogen ion through is protein called the ATP synthase. In other words, there should be a balance. This is now the time that the production of ATP made possible by ATP synthase takes place to produce ATP. The diffusion of hydrogen ions through ATP synthase is to rotate. This rotation allows ATP synthase to produce ATP. In other words, the ATP will be used during the Calvin cycle as an energy source to help produce sugar. The electrons continue down the electron transport chain to photosystem I. Light strikes photosystem I, causing the electrons to get excited again, and these excited electrons continue down a second electron transport chain. The electrons are used to reduce NADP plus to form NADPH. This is it. The formation of NADP plus to form NADPH. NADPH is, or the reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is an electron carrier now. This electron will be carried out to the stroma where they will be used in the Calvin cycle. This is now the reduced. Okay, so you have here the NADPH, and after that it is being reduced. It is now essential requirement for the Calvin cycle or the dark reaction. That's the whole process in the production of ATP and NADPH, or the reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or ATP adenosine triphosphate. These are very much important or essential product of light dependent reaction to be used in the next part of photosynthesis. Kung mapapansin nyo, madali maintindihan ng mga bata. It is because this is anchored to the time allotment in the curriculum guide, kung hanggang kailan lang dapat natin ituro ang topic. Kasi si teacher gusto agad matapos ang content. That's the only thing na nahihirapan yung bata maintindihan ang topic. It is because we would want to teach the whole topic under photosynthesis in one day. However, hindi gaano naintindihan ng bata. Kung mapapansin natin, it is only good for 1 hour the topic about light-dependent reaction. And this time, we are now on the concluding part on evaluation of this session. We can have this. We can let the students to form, or in a diagram, the students will illustrate the steps of light reactions as the first stage involved in photosynthesis. So I have here the tip to the students in accomplishing the activity. The diagram will showcase the start from the capturing of light energy from the sun and the transformation of light energy into chemical energy. Don't forget to present to the students the grading rubric that includes the criteria on accuracy, completeness, and promptness. I have reached the end of my slide. That ends our session for this day, and I hope you learn a lot in presenting photosynthesis and energy flow. Thank you.